Hey there everybody! Today what we're going to do is we're going to be taking a look at the parts of a ruler. But more specifically, not the parts of a ruler, but the parts of an inch. So what we're going to do is we are going to work together to create a little ruler for us. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this inch right here from 0 to 1. 0 to 1, excuse me, my computer's glitching. From 0 to 1, and we are going to zoom in on that, or we are going to inspect it. And we're going to figure out, we are going to determine what each of those little tick marks or each of those little lines means. So we're going to start at the 0, and we're going to go all the way to the 1, and we're going to figure out what each of those little marks actually means. Because all of those are little fractions. So between the 0 and the 1, there are actually going to be 16 little marks that we are going to figure out what each of those marks are. So we're going to zoom in, and we're going to make an inch. We're going to make 1 inch using this half sheet of paper that each of you should have in front of you. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and I want you to hold this up for me. And like I said, this is going to be an inch for us. So this side is going to be our 0, and this side is going to be our 1. So it's just 1 inch. So what I want you to do is I want you to lay your paper down on your desks, and I want you to go ahead and label that. So off to the very side here, right at the edge of the paper. So right here at the edge of the paper, I want you to put a 0, and make the line go, make a 0. So this is the 0, and all the way over here, this part here at the very, very, very edge is going to be your 1. So from 0 to 1. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this half sheet of paper, and what we're going to do is I want you to go ahead and fold it in half. So if I'm going to fold it in half, that means that I'm going to fold it this way, and I'm going to make it into 2 equal sections because that's what half means. So go ahead and fold it, crease it, and now open it back up. What I would like you to do now is draw a line on that crease that you just made. And I want you to kind of come down a little farther. Okay? Now, on our ruler here, how many lines did we draw? Right, we only drew 1 line. But how many pieces do I have on my paper here? Well, I got it folded into 1, 2 pieces. So that means I have the fraction 1/2. This mark is halfway between my 0 and my 1. So what I can do here is I want you to write the fraction 1/2. So there's 1 line over 2 equal pieces. 1 line over 2 equal pieces. Okay? So we have 0, we have 1/2. Now this line we already drew here, but this line would be 2. Line 2 over your 2 equal pieces. So please put the fraction 2/2 at your 1 line. So we could call this your 1/2 line, and we can call this line 1, or this is 1 inch, or it's 2/2. Okay? Now what I want you to do is I want you to take your red marker or your red pencil or your red crayon that you did, and I want you to trace that, and I want you to write 1/2. So you see there that is the fraction, or that line right in the middle is the fraction 1/2. Okay? So what I want you to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to divide it even smaller. So we're going to figure out what those other little tick marks are. So we're going to go even smaller, and we're going to make 4 equal pieces now. So I want you to fold it again in half, so your red line should be on the crease. But now what I want you to do is I want you to take it and I want you to fold it in half again. Just like this. Make your crease. You're doing so awesome. And now open it back up. Okay. So take a look at your ruler now. How many sections do you have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 sections now. So that means we are dealing with the fraction fourths because there are 4 pieces. So what I want us to do is let's go ahead and draw some creases or trace the lines. So here's a line. We already have a line here. Then draw this line, and then of course we have this line here. So like I said, we have 4 equal pieces, so our fractions are going to be in fourths. So here, this is our first line here. So we have line 1 over 4 equal sections. So that's the fraction 1/4. So this line here is 1/4, or a quarter. Now, this line here would be line 1, 2. So this is line 2 over those 4 equal sections. So the line 2/4 is the same measurement as 1/2. Those are the same. We can say that they are equal. Now we have line 1, line 2, line 3 over those 4 sections. So that would be the line 3/4. And our last line over here, we were at 3. Now it would be line 4 over 4 sections. So the number 1, where you're at that 1 inch, is equal to 2/2 and 4/4. Those all are equal. So what I want you to do now is I want you to take your blue marker and I would like you to trace over your fourths. So there's 1/4, and I want you to trace over that line again where it was red. And now we've got 2/4. And now we're going to highlight over 3/4. And then we're going to highlight here. And that's going to be 4/4. And I'm sorry I didn't do the 2/2 in red. So can you please go back with your red and also trace over that and give your 2/2 into red, please? So that way you see what fractions are which. The red is where we're splitting it into halves, so we're splitting it into 2. And then the blue is where we're splitting it into fourths. So on your ruler, when you look between the 0 and the 1, or the 1 and the 2, the long line in the middle, that's your half line. And then the lines in between there are your fourths. Okay? But let's take a look and go even smaller. So halves are our biggest, then the next biggest, the longest ones are our fourths, and now we're going to go even smaller. So fold it in half, and then take it another step and go, whoa, into another half. Okay? Now take it and open it back up. And let's see how many pieces we got. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Holy cow! So now since we have 8 equal pieces, now we're going to be talking about the fraction of eighths. So the number 8 is going to be at the bottom. So let's go ahead and let's draw our first line here. Now that's your first line. Then we have our second line, which we've already done in blue. The next line is our thirds. And then we've got our half mark. And then we're going to trace over the next one. That would be 4, 5, 7, 8. There we go. Okay. So now let's have those all marked. Now let's go ahead and let's label them. So this here is our first mark. So that's going to be our number 1 over, remember we said we had 8 equal sections. So let's put that 8 on the bottom. Now the next line would be line number 2, because 1, 2. So 2 over, we had 8 equal sections. So if this is 2, that means the next one is 3 over 8 equal sections. If this is 3, then this is line 4 over 8 equal sections. If this is 4, count up, 5 over 8 equal sections, so 5/8. If this is 5, then this is 6 over 8 equal sections. If this is 6, then this would be 7 over 8 equal sections. If this is 7, then this would be 8 over 8 equal sections. So you can see as we are making this, we have a lot of lines here where there are equal fractions, okay? Or they mean the same length. So what I want you to do now is go ahead and take your green marker or your green crayon, and I want you to highlight all of those 8ths. So 1/8, and then we see here that our 2/8 is the same thing as 1/4. Then we have our 3/8, and then our 4/8 is the same thing or equal to 2/4 or 1/2. Then we have 5/8. Then we have 6/8, which is the same thing as 3/4. Then we have 7/8. And then we have 8/8. And 8/8 is the same thing as 4/4, 2/2, or it is equal to 1. Now, there's one more step that we've got to take. We're going to fold them in half one more time. Ready? Go in half, go in half, go in half. This is going to be tricky. There's a lot of layers there, but try and do it in half one more time. And now open it back up. And what we're going to have is 16 equal pieces. 16 equal pieces. So let's go ahead and go through, and we're just going to do these with our pencil here. So our first line, draw a tiny little line. This is your smallest one that you see on the ruler. That is 1/16. So that means the second line, the one that's 1/8, if this is 1, then this is 2. Very good. So then we have 2/16. If this is 2, then what's the next line? Good. Then we would have 3/16. So 3 over 16. So if this is 3/16, what's the next one? 4/16, good. And then our next one doesn't have one yet, so that's 5/16. And then 3/8 would be the same thing as 6/16. And our next one in the middle would then be 7/16. Now our half mark, if this is 7, then this is 8 over 16, 8/16. The next one in the middle there would be 9/16. Then we would have 10/16, which is the same thing as 5/8. And then we would have 11/16. And what comes after 11? 12/16. And then 13/16. And then 7/8 would be 14/16. And then our 15/16. And then our last one would be 16 over 16, which is the same thing as 8/8, 4/4, 2/2, or the number 1. So now what we have is we have all of the parts of the ruler here. And so we can relate this from 0 to 1 onto our actual ruler. Okay? So if I take a look at my actual ruler here, I know that this line is 0. Now, halfway between my 0 and my 1 is right here. So this is my half mark. There is 1, 2 sections there. So there's your half mark. Here is your 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Okay? And then your eighths, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8. And then each one of those tiny little tick marks are your 16ths. Now you know the parts of an inch.